Hello and welcome to Algebra Prep. The Algebra Prep course is about rediscovering 8th grade math skills critical to success in Algebra 1. In this course organizer, we are going to discuss some of the course questions, how our rituals and concepts are mapped out for this summer course. One of the things that you want to look at with under the course questions is how do different forms of numbers can be compared and ordered by value, and by using those different forms we can create different strategies for operations that we've learned how to do in the past. For example, we've been taught in the past to do 1/2 plus 3/4 as finding a common denominator. However, instead of finding the common denominator and doing 4/8 plus 6/8, we could change those different numbers into decimals like 0.5 and 0.75 to get to the same answer. And that's part of some of the strategies or the questions we're going to look at. What are some different ways that we can get to the same answer so that we're not having to struggle with tasks or steps that we may not have been so successful with in the past. What we also want to look at is how the different methods of displaying data reveals the truth about the world. For example, in a bar graph, we can see that the United States is much more in one category than Canada, but the question remains, why? Why are we much more? What is it in the United States that's working so well, and what is not working so well in Canada? We also want to use the proportionality of geometric figures and solids to model the real world. For example, if we look at the volume of two rectangular prisms, we can look at the surface area of those prisms. We can also look at their volume and see what relationship they have between them with respect to perimeter, area, and volume, and is there a common relationship, and what are those relationships? Those are some of the things that we're going to be exploring. We also want to look at how the formulas for perimeter, area, and volume, where they come from. So for instance, if we look at the formula chart that we have for the star, we have several formulas here that sometimes we just don't know where these formulas come from. For instance, the surface area for a prism is equal to pH plus 2b. Well, what the heck is P and what the heck is B? Where do those things come from? And we'll also talk about some strategies you can use in algebra and 8th grade mathematics that maybe seem like going back to elementary school, but they actually might help you. For instance, 1/2 times b times h for the area of a triangle or in the area of a rectangle. Instead of using b and h, use length and width, L times W. L times W, so that it makes it a little easier when you use these formulas when they come up with h's again and they're not the same h. So we'll definitely talk about that and use some examples, some strategies that will help you. And finally, we want to look at how to use formulas or how do I convert the real world relationships into algebraic equations. Right here you can see that there is definitely some data displayed. How in the world do they go from 0, 3, 3, 7, 6, 11 to 4x minus 3y equal 12? Remember and understand. That's our first level. Then we want to apply and analyze and then we want to evaluate and create. We're going to take you in these topics all the way from remembering to creating so that you can fully understand, fully apply and analyze and create at an 8th grade pre-algebra level. So you're ready the first day that you walk into algebra class. How are we going to do this? We're going to be looking at many online activities, and we'll be also looking at doing class activities. Even for those of you who are not in the class, you will be doing these class activities at home. The value is that we will be giving a % completion on any online activities, and then they'll be given an SBG, standard-based grading, 1, 2, 3, or 4 on the Check Your Understandings, which are very short teak-based quizzes. This is what I've created. You don't have to use this same chart, but we strongly recommend it. What you want to do is you want to look at using the y-axis 1, 2, 3, and 4. I've spaced it out by every 4, so you can see how close you are by every 4th, or 0.25. On the x-axis, I've put down all the teaks that we've highlighted. Put a little space right there for 8-1A, and then if you get a 3.25, you can shade all the way up to 3.25. And you can do that for every teak, just to give yourself kind of a tracking of how well you're doing. And knowing something that you all know very well, and that is our core values, or our community principles, and we'll be using honor. That is honesty, open-mindedness, never giving up, ownership, and respect. Our learning rituals, if you go to the actual course, and of course, as we're building our course, it will look different as we go along, but the main meat of this will still be there. Every module have a skill pod. There'll be rotation activities, there'll be extra practice, and a check yourself quiz to see where you're at. But there are many different concepts in critical. Those include fractions, decimals, and percents, real number operations, independent and dependent events, and probability. We want to know how to do data displays, the measures of central tendencies, that's mean, median, mode, variability, something you probably don't know a lot about. We'll look at transformations, that's reflections, rotations, slides on the graph. We have perimeter, area, and volume, and proportional linear relationships, and all of these tie into being able to display data and understanding of that data into tables, graphs, equations, and words. And that is the key to our modules. So again, number sense, probability, geometry and measurement, and proportionality, and algebraic thinking.